All right, guys. So I hope I'm live now. Okay. So welcome back to this channel of Pradhan Academy. So a big, like it's like a big battle won to all of you, right? So you all have completed your CBSE board examinations, and now you're heading for the upcoming test, right? So I hope you have all done wonderfully in your CBSE board examinations, right? So today we're going to be discussing the CBSE board exam paper that you already have on 8th of March. Okay. So I know everyone will have a different opinion to everything, but when as we go along discussing the paper, you will see that most of the questions are just directly from the concepts and the questions that I discussed in the class. And I said that these questions are going to be really, really important. So you should not afford to miss out those questions, right? So we'll see, and I will show you that these were the questions that I already said before the exam. So on 7th of March, I already took out one session, right, where I was discussing the most important questions for your CBSE board examinations. And we are going to discuss that paper, and we will see that whatever I said just came directly in this paper. Okay. So if you are new to this particular channel, I would say you can start watching our content from right now. And if you're in class 11th or if you're in class 10th and you're starting a preparation on to class 11th and 12th, so this particular channel is going to help you a lot in preparing for the upcoming CBSE examination as well as JEE Mains and JEE Advanced examinations. Also, these videos are also very beneficial and helpful for any other engineering entrance exam that you're going to plan for, right? So today we will basically discuss the paper and we're gonna see how the difficulty level was. Okay. So I will have a different opinion, and you can see over here that I have written something very interesting, right? Get ready for JEE Mains 2025, right? So as we all know, the CBSE board examination is over. So someone who is preparing for your engineering entrance exam, so we have to now get ready for JEE Mains, right? So is there any surprise? Yes, definitely. So stay tuned for this particular session, and I will reveal the surprise at the end. Okay. So let's start our session with discussing that paper solution. So I will be the instructor for this course, and my name is Sirsha Banerjee, and I am also going to discuss something. But before that, I would like to say that someone who is new to this particular channel, do definitely subscribe to the particular channel so that you don't miss out any upcoming content. And we are going to start very soon with the JEE Mains revision series. Along with that, we're also going to discuss the concepts as well as previous year questions, right? So that is really going to be important. So I have something of surprise that I will be revealing at the end. So let's start with today's session. We're going to start with the discussion of the maths paper, right? So let us see over the paper over here. So I have the paper downloaded with me. I will share the PDF of this particular paper. So this is basically the paper I obtained. This is the set one. So you can see that different sets had the only the ordering of the questions were different. Rest all were simple, right? But what you can see over here, we have the math paper. So again, the instructions are very clear. I have already discussed the instructions. So this is something that you already have known. Okay, so let us try to read the instruction again. So when I was discussing sample paper, I have already discussed about these instructions very clearly, right? So you know that 1 to 18 will be MCQ based and 18, 19 and 20 will be assertion regions, right? And all of those questions were of 1 marks each. And in section B, you will have 2 marks problem. Section C is 3 mark problem. Section D is 5 marks problem. And section E is basically case study based problems, right? So let's start with the discussion of the paper, right? So as you can see, the very first problem on the screen is basically a question from the vector algebra, right? Now, if you remember the class that I took on 7th of March, I discussed the most important paper. So I discussed that the questions of projection of vector on any other vector is going to be really important, right? I said that in the class. So if you are someone new, you can definitely check that particular video that I've taken on 8th of March. So if you just go to the live video that I've taken as important top 10 questions for CBSE examination, you can definitely see that I have mentioned about this question, that projection of a vector onto another vector will definitely going to come for the exam. So as you can see, we have this question with us. So the projection of a vector on b vector. So if you recall from the last class, we discussed that whenever I need to find out the projection of one vector onto the other, I just need to perform the dot product divided by the magnitude of the vector onto which I'm taking the projection on. So that is going to be equal to a vector dot b vector divided by mod of b vector, right? So if you just recall from the last class we have seen this particular thing, and I said you that this question is going to be really important for the CBSE 2025 paper. As you can see, the prediction is totally correct, right? I can show you the video also, right? So if you just go at this particular channel in the live section, you can definitely find the video as top 10 important questions. In that, you can just check out the initial first question, right? And I have discussed everything about that, right? So if you are someone who haven't watched that lecture, so I think you are in lost night now, so you must reconsider decision of subscribing to the particular channel. Okay, so and if you are someone who is in class 11th and and going to class 12, so definitely subscribe to the particular channel and please watch this particular discussion or session what we are having. Okay, this is going to be really important for your coming preparation. Okay, let's now move to this. So we can see that the first question, the option number B is going to be the correct answer. Right. Let's move to the next problem. Again, the next problem is something that I've already said to all of you. That is the questions of strictly increasing, strictly decreasing is going to definitely be asked in the paper. As you can see, the second question is that question that I said that is going to be coming in the exam, and that has already come up in the exam. So what you can see that if I need to discuss about function and I want to discuss about the increasing in which particular interval of x, so I just need to perform the derivative, first derivative of x, and should be greater than 0. So for strictly increasing, so for strictly increasing function, I should have the first derivative greater than 0, right? This is what I have discussed in the last class. So if you just have, please go to the video and check that I have already said that this question is definitely going to come up. And you can see that this question has already come up, right? So if you just look at it over here, so if I take the first derivative, I'm going to get the first derivative of f of x is going to be 2x minus of 4, and that should be greater than 0. So from here, I will get the value of x minus 2 common of 2 should be greater than 0. So from here, I will get x should be greater than 2, right? So for strictly increasing, your x should be greater than 2 comma infinity, right? But it is nothing mentioned about strictly increasing or not. So I can just put a greater than equal to sign. So I will get that 2 is also included and going to infinity. So from here, you can see that option number D is going to be a correct answer of this particular problem, right? So again, it's the prediction that I have already told you, and you can see my predictions are all correct, right? So you can just see and match that. I've already discussed that strictly increasing, strictly decreasing case are definitely going to come up, and you can see that this question has already come up, right? Very simple problem, just option number D is the correct answer, right? Let's move to the next problem, and again we have a next problem which is basically on the properties of integrals of definite integral, right? So what we can see over here, if this question says that function of 2 times of a minus x is equal to function of values at x, right? So what we do, we try to simply apply the King's property, or what the property that is, if we have a function of value f of x and integrated within the limit a to b dx, then I can simply write this particular as integration from a to b function of a plus b minus x dx, right? So if you just apply this particular form over here, what we get over here is that I can write it from 0 to 2a function of 2a minus x dx, right? Which is also simple, that particular equation, right? But we have to reduce the limit, right? So if you just recall the property that whenever we reduce the limit, we can write the same thing as 0 to a f of x dx plus 0 to a, the same function but with 2a minus x, that is the upper limit, but we half the function, right? And if you just check that this particular value is same as this value, so therefore I can club this part up and I can write it 2 times of 0 to a f of x dx, right? So from here you can see the option number D is going to be the correct answer. Again, a very simple problem just from the properties of definite integral, right? So let's now move to the next problem. The next problem, again, a simple problem that I've already discussed in the last class. So if you just go to the last class, in the top 10 important questions I've already discussed, the symmetric matrix, skew symmetric matrix will be very important for your CBSE exam. So you can see that this question just came directly, right? So there is, say, a square matrix, and it's talking about, it's a symmetric matrix, right? So if you ask square matrix is symmetric, so we know that symmetric matrix, the definition is that same matrix should be equal to the transpose of the matrix. So whenever a matrix transpose is equal to the same matrix, then we call that particular matrix as a symmetric matrix, right? So you just see over here, we just need to equate the non-diagonal elements, right? So 12 should be equal to 6x. So from here, you'll get x equal to 2, right? 12 should be equal to 6x. And similarly, this 4y should be equal to 8x, right? This 4y should be equal to 8x. So from here, you'll get that 4y is equal to 8x. So from here, x is basically 2. So 8 times of x is going to 16. And from here, y is going to be equal to 4, right? So you just take the value of this summation, that is 2x plus y. So 2x is 4, 4 plus 4 is going to be 8. So again, you can see option number D is going to be the correct answer, right? Very simple, clear for everyone, right? So I can see that all my predictions are going correct, right? So if you have watched that particular session where I have discussed about the top 10 important questions, so you can definitely see those questions are exactly matching that question that you already have in that exam of 8th of March, right? So we have discussed about this part. So again, a very simple problem, easy 1 marks, right? Let's do the next problem. And again, I said that the inverse trigonometric function, please make sure to recall the graph. That is going to be really important. So what you can see that sine inverse of x. So if I just recall from the graph of sine inverse of x, it's basically like this, right? Where this particular value is going to be equal to minus of pi by 2. Sorry, extremely sorry, sine inverse. So that is basically minus of 1. So this is minus of 1 and this is going to be plus of 1, and this particular value is going to be pi by 2, and this particular value is going to be minus of pi by 2, right? So what I said mentioned in the problem is that the x value is going from minus 1 to 0. So it is only taking up this part of the interval, right? It is not taking this part. So therefore what you can see, the y value will definitely go from minus pi by 2 to 0. 0 is included, minus 1 is included. So both of them will be included. So option B is going to be the correct answer. It was simply about the concept of closed interval and open interval. That's what you can see. Just simply use the graph and you just know it, how to solve it. So option number B is going to be a correct answer for this question number 5. So as you can see, it's a very simple problem, right? So if you just look the video that I already discussed about the important questions, I already told you or mentioned specifically that the graph of sine inverse, cos inverse, tan inverse, cot inverse, all those inverse trigonometric functions are really going to be important along with the properties, right? So if you have watched that particular session, it is going to be very simple. So I have already leaked the paper before the examination, right? So let's now move to the next problem. Again, very similar problem on what I've discussed in the last session, that I said specifically the direction ratios and direction cosines is going to be really important, and the property that is connects the the direction cosines is going to be also important, right? So if you just recall that we studied that the summation of cos square of the direction of the sum of the square of the direction cosines is equal to 1, right? So as you can see, cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma is 1. What is basically this? So if I have any line and this particular line makes some angle, alpha with the x-axis, beta with the y-axis, and gamma with the z-axis, right? So in this particular notation, let us call it x, y, and z. So in this particular way, we have this particular relation satisfied, which is a very important property about direction cosines, right? So this is an important property relating the direction cosine. Okay. So if you just see over here the 3 pi by 4 and pi by 3 and theta, so from here I can easily find cos square theta will be equals to, with the positive direction of x, y, and z axis, so cos square theta is going to be 1 minus cos square of 3 pi by 4 is going to be 1 upon 2, and cos square of pi upon 3. So pi upon 3 is basically going to be 1, cos square of pi upon 3 is going to be minus 1 upon 4, right? So minus is basically because we are subtracting 1 minus cos square alpha plus minus cos square beta, right? So from here you will see that the answer is going to be simply out as 1 minus 3 by 4, that is going to be equal to 1 upon 4, right? So from here you can see the cos square theta. So cos of theta is going to be plus minus 1 upon 2. So from here your theta value is going to be plus minus pi upon 3. So what we can see, option number, but now be careful because we have both the option, that is plus minus 3 is also there, pi plus also there. So I said only, right? Now this is very going to be interesting, right? Now the question over here is basically to discuss that we have to talk about the positive direction of x, y, and z axis, right? So if we just look at this particular problem in this sense, that when we are taking the angle considering the positive axis, right? Let us say that there is a line which makes an angle something with the positive direction of the z axis, and this is a line, right? So if it is making theta with the positive direction of x axis, then it is also making pi minus theta with the direction of the z minus of z axis, right? So if it is mentioned about positive z axis, then the answer is going to be simply going to be equal to pi by 3, right? So from here you will see that this question is very simple, right? Let's now move to the next problem. So next problem, what we can see is a question of probability, right? So if we can see that there are two events given, that the probability of event E is greater than 0 and probability of event F is not equal to 1, then I have to find the probability of complement of the just conditional probability of the complement of the functions, right? Now if you just recall to the last class while we discussed a sample paper discussion, I've already mentioned this problem, right? So you just recall this problem, and this is going to be simply equal to option number D. So you can just check out the last problem of the sample paper discussion, right? So it's just simple problem that came directly on the sample paper, right? So this particular probability of conditional probability is going to be E bar intersecting F bar divided by probability of F bar, right? So this particular part can be simply written as by De Morgan's theorem 1 minus, let me first of all write up with the De Morgan's theorem. So I can write this part probability of E union F whole complement, right? Which I can simply write as 1 minus probability of E union F, right? So from here you can see the option number D is going to be the correct answer, right? So you can see option number D is going to be the correct answer for this particular question number 7, right? Let's now move to the next problem. Again, a simple problem that is said that a matrix that is both symmetric as well as skew symmetric. So if it is a matrix which is A plus A transpose is equal to null matrix, as well as it is basically A minus A transpose also equal to null matrix. So from here, the only solution for this matrix, so square matrix A, is going to be null matrix, right? So if it is a null matrix, then it is both skew symmetric as well as symmetric matrix. Okay. So you can just check over here that if we have a diagonal matrix, then it is not a skew symmetric. It may be symmetric, right? And even if we have a unit matrix, it is going to be symmetric but not skew symmetric, right? So what we can see, so row matrix, it is not a square matrix, so that doesn't comes under the symmetric or skew symmetric case. So you can see option number C is going to be the correct answer, right? Let's now move to the next problem. Again, the simple problem that I said that the parametric form of equations of straight line planes is going to be really important. So you can just see over here. So you can just see over here that that particular question directly came up, right? So that it said that you have to find the equation of the line. You have to find the equation of line parallel to this particular vector. You have to find the equation of line which is parallel to this particular vector and passing to this particular point. So if you just recall, this is a question of parametric equations of straight lines, right? So if you just recall that whenever I said that a line is there and it is passing to certain points, the point is basically mentioned as 4 comma minus 3 comma 7, and it is directed along this particular vector. That L vector is given as 3 I cap plus j cap plus 2 k cap, right? So in the parametric form, what we can write, so x, y, and z, these particular values I can write simply as 4 3t. It's going to be like this. So what we know, have seen that if I call this point A and this particular point as B, so I can just simply write this AP vector is parallel to this L vector. So from the concept of parallel vectors, I can write A vectors as some lambda times of L vector, right? So I will get x minus 4, which is basically equal to 3 lambda, right? So just I will equate the x and it will be basically 3 lambda plus of 4, right? So it is basically going to, but it is mentioned in terms of t, so I will just change this lambda to t, right? So it is 3t by 4 plus 4, right? Similarly, y plus 3 is going to be equal to some t, right? So from here you will get y is equal to t minus 3, right? So you can just see that it is t minus 3 is going to be option number C, right? And similarly, z minus 7 is going to be 2t. So you can see z is basically equal to 2t plus 7, right? So z is equal to 2t plus 7. So from here you can see the option number C is going to be the correct answer to this particular problem, right? Very simple, very straightforward, right? So I hope you can understand this part sessions, right? Please let me know if you have any questions or not. Okay, very simple, right? Straightforward problem. Okay, so let's move to the next problem then. So with this, let's move to the 10th problem, and it said that now this problem is going to be little bit tricky, but it's not that tricky. It's having a difficult, it's having the question that is written in sometime in a different way, right? So it said that there are 4 friends, Abhay, Bina, Chaya, and Deves were asked to simplify a this particular simplification of matrix. Okay, and where A and B are both matrices of order 2 cross 2. So if you just recall, this is a problem. This is a problem which is basically deals with the order in which the matrix multiplication is done. So if you just recall from the basics of matrix multiplication, so already you know that matrix multiplications does not follow this commutative principle, right? So A into B is not equal to B into A, right? So if you just simplify this expression over here, that is 4 times of AB plus 3 times of AB plus 3 times of BA minus 4 times of BA, right? So from here you will simplify, this is going to be 7 times of AB minus BA. Now, is there anything mentioned about their symmetric nature or skew symmetric nature, right? So let us see that. So it is asked that who of the following is answered it correctly, right? So if you can see that Bina has already answered this correctly, right? What we got the 7 times of AB minus BA. So from here you can see the option number B, that Bina has answered this question correctly, right? So you can also see that A stands for Abhay, B stands for Bina, C stands for Chaya, and D stands for Davis, right? That the question was framed, right? Very simple straight away questions, right? So if you just see and just simplify this result, you're definitely going to get it right. There is nothing difficult in it. Okay, just all about the matrix manipulations of algebra, right? You have any questions, you can definitely post it in the live sessions. Okay, this part is really simple, right? So let's move to the next problem. And next problem is a question from the application of the derivative part, right? So it is said that there is a cylindrical tank. Okay, let us try to draw a cylindrical tank over here. So there is a cylindrical tank which is of the radius. The radius of this particular tank is given as 0.1 meter. Okay, I just converted this unit to meter. Okay, so it is given as 0.1 meter, right? And it is being filled with sugar. Okay, it is being filled with the sugar, right? So we are pouring sugar inside the tank at the rate of, so this sugar, so basically it is a volume which is increasing, right? So it is a volume of the sugar that is increasing inside this cylindrical tank. So I will say that the rate of change of this volume of the sugar divided by the respective time is given as 100 pi centimeter cube per second, right? So let us first of all keep it in centimeters only, okay, rather than converting into meters. Okay, so this is basically R is equal to 10 centimeters. So it is said that the change of volume of the sugar inside the tank is increasing at the rate of change of 100 pi centimeters cube per second, right? So I have to tell the rate at which this particular height of this sugar is increasing inside the tank, right? So it's just a simple problem where you have to relate the volume with the equation of derivative, right? So if we just relate to the volume of a cylinder, so it is basically given as pi r square into h, right? Now over here, this radius of the cylinder is remaining constant. So only term that is variable is v, is h, right? So if I just differentiate this v with respect to time, so it is going to be equal to pi r square dh by dt, right? Because the radius of the cylinder is going to be constant. If it is a cone, the radius would have decreased or it would have been variable, right? Depending on the orientation of the cone, right? But in this particular case, it is just a simple case of a cylinder where the radius is constant, right? But it is the variable height. So from here you can find dh by dt. So it's a simple problem where you have to find out dh by dt. So dh by dt is going to be dv by dt divided by pi r square. So dv by dt is basically going to be 100 pi divided by pi into r square. So r square is 110 square, right? So from here you can see that this 10 and 10 get cancelled, 10 square and 100 got cancelled out, and pi got cancelled out. This is how we will get the rate as 1 centimeter per second, right? So from here you can see that option number C is going to be the correct answer for the particular problem, right? Very simple, straightforward problem, right? So you can just see that these types of problems were asked in the paper, right? So if you have just gone through the discussion that I have already did on this particular channel in the live sessions about the top 10 important questions, you can definitely check out, you can definitely do these questions easily, right? And if you haven't done that, you can definitely check out right now. So you can just see the authenticity of the particular videos, okay? So I have discussed everything in very detail. Right. So let's now move to the next problem. And the next problem talks about that angle between vectors. Now, again, this is a question that I've already discussed. And I said that angle between vectors is specifically going to come up for the exam, right? So it said that we have to basically, we are given with P vector and Q vector are two unit vectors, right? Specifically focus, they are the unit vectors and alpha be the angle between them and alpha be the angle between them. So it is said that P vector plus Q vector will be a unit vector for which values of alpha, right? Now, this is a very interesting problem that I would like to say you that now whenever you apply the parallelogram law of vectorization, you feel that if I have the a vector which modulus is also 1 and b vector whose modulus is also 1, I will get the summation of the vector also as 1. That is incorrect, but I will rather get the summation of the vectors at not equal to 1. So the summation of the vector along the direction of the diagonal is not the unit vector, right? But in order to make this particular thing unit vector, given that those adjacent vectors are also unit vector, what I need to do, I just for so let us recall that I have discussed that a plus b vector magnitude is basically simply equal to square root of mod of a square mod of b square plus 2 times of mod of a mod of b into cosine of theta, right? So what is cosine of theta? So it is said that alpha is the angle between them, so we will write it over here as cos of alpha, right? So over here we will write it as cos of alpha, right? Right. So we have to find out that particular value of alpha for which I am having the summation of the vector is also equal to unit vector, right? So this particular vector is given as 1. So 1 is equal to square root of 2 plus 2 times of cos of alpha, right? So from here you just need to simply apply the trigonometric identities or properties. Okay, so for what will this come up at 1 is equal to square root of 2 times of, so square root of 1 plus cos theta, right? So cos alpha, sorry. So 1 plus cos alpha, so I can also write 1 plus cos alpha as 2 times of cos square alpha, right? So if you just recall from the half angle formulas of cos series, that is cos of 2 theta is basically equal to cos square theta minus sin square theta. From that, if you put sin square theta as 1 minus cos square theta, you're going to get 2 cos square theta minus 1 is equal to cos of 2 theta, right? I hope this part is clear. So this will be alpha by 2, right? Fine. So from here, I'll get this part as So I will get this part as 2 times of cos of alpha by 2, and I will just put a mod over here, right? And it is equal to 1. So from here I will get the value is cos alpha by 2 is basically equal to half. So I will get alpha by 2 is equal to pi by 3. So from here I will get alpha basically equal to 2 pi by 3, right? 2 pi by 3 is going to be the correct answer. So whenever the angle is 120-degree, then only I am going to have the summation of the two unit vector also equal to an unit vector. Okay, I hope this part is very clear and straightforward, right? So this part is simple and clear to all of you, right? So you can just see that all of my whatever I said in the important top 10 important questions I have that are directly being asked over here, right? So let's now proceed with the next problem. So you can just see the next problems, right? So just looking at the next problem, it said that it's a question of a line. It said that this particular line is passing through which particular point. So from here you can just, if you just recall from the definition, that it is basically the vector equation of line is basically given as R vector is basically equal to the position vector on that particular line plus lambda times of some particular direction ratios, right? Or the direction vector along the line is directed towards, right? So from here you can just simply see that is 1, -5 and -6 is any point that lies on the line. So from you can directly say that 1 comma -5 comma 6 is a point which lies on the line, right? So this particular say that if which of the following line, which of the following point basically passes through this particular line. So if you just put mu is equal to 0, you can just see that x equal to 1, y equal to -5 and z equals to -6 is satisfied. So for me, I can see the option number C is going to be the correct answer. I hope this part is clear to all of you, right? So let's now move to the next problem, and the next problem is talking about a Venn diagram problem. Okay, so it says that it's a problem of a simple Venn diagram. Just use a simple IQ and you're going to get it. It says that A denotes a set of continuous functions and B denotes a set of differential functions. So if you just recall that differentiability differentiability, a function to be differentiable, it has to be continuous. So if a function is continuous, then only it is differentiable, right? And then I will check for the differentiability condition and then it will be differentiable, right? So for a particular function to be continuous, for a particular function need to be continuous in order to satisfy the condition of differentiability. If a function is not continuous, then differentiability has nothing to do with, right? So what you can see that the A is bigger set. So if A set denotes the number of continuous function, inside that particular set I will have one particular set which will denote the differentiable functions, right? It's a simple problem. Just use your basics. This kind of problems can also come up for your JEE mains as well, right? Which actually use your basics, right? So what I will see over here, so if A is a continuous, so function is not continuous, then it is not differentiable. So this cannot be correct answer. So if you just look over here, option B is going to be the correct answer, right? Even option C is not going to be the correct answer, because if a function is not continuous, then it is not differentiable. So if this part of the region is not satisfying the criteria, right? So this is also incorrect. And similarly, there is no correlation, that is not wrong, that is not correct over here. So it's totally wrong over here. So you can see option D is also not going to be the correct answer. So the correct answer to particular problem is going to be option number B. Right. So a particular function is differentiable only if and only if it is continuous. First of all, we'll check for continuity of the function, then we check for the differentiability. But if a function is not continuous, then there is no question about differentiability, right? That's the important thing. Let's move to the next problem. So again, we have the next problem where we have discussed that the area of the shaded region that is divided by the curve, right? So here, what you can see that we are not finding the area with respect to the x-axis, but we are finding the area with respect to the y-axis, right? So in this case, what you can see, we have to put the integrand with respect to dy, right? And the function should be over here with respect to y, and the limit in this y should go from 0 to 4, right? So if you just look at the options over here, so this is a parabolic function, so I can write y is equal to x squared. So from here I can write x square root of y, right? But I have to find out this particular shaded region. So this particular shaded region will simply given out as 0 to 4 square root of y dy, right? Square root of y dy, as simple as that. So from here, option number D is going to be the correct answer, right? So just simple problem, we have to just use the change of variable, right? So it is said that the curve is given and the limits in x is also given, and we have to find out. So many students will get confused because this particular area is like 0 to 2 x square dx, right? And this particular area can also be written like in terms of y by changing the x towards y and also changing the integrand towards that, okay? But this particular will not give you the region. The region will be actually given by 8 minus this particular integral, okay? Because this integral in 0 to 2 x square dx will give you this particular area, okay? But I want the opposite part. I want the area which is this particular area, the area of the square minus this particular area, right? Which is basically you can see the shaded region, right? So from here you can just see that it is simply given by this particular formula, right? So from here you can see option number D is going to be the correct answer for this question number 15. Very simple, straightforward, right? Now let's move to the questions of LPP or linear programming problems, right? So it says that a factory produces two products X and Y, and the products, basically they are earning some profit by selling the products, okay? And the profit function or the loss the profit function or the objective function is given by 5x plus 7, right? So X and Y are the number of units of X and Y products are sold, okay? So the objective function maximizes the difference between the profit earned, or the objective function measures the total production of cost. It is basically maximizes the combined profit that you're earning from selling X and Y. So from here you can see the say objective function maximizes the combined profit earned from selling X and Y, right? So from here you can see option number C is going to be the correct answer. Okay, so option number C is going to be the correct answer. As simple as that. It is not discussing because it is saying about the profit earned, right? So whenever we have to write objective function, we are definitely going to increase or maximize the profit that is earned by selling this number of goods and of certain particular product. Okay, I hope this part is clear to all of you. Please let me know in the live chat if it is clear or not. I hope you are following up correctly, right? All right, so let's move to the next problem. So the next problem, again a simple problem on matrix operation. So it is said that in order to a square matrix to have this particular property. Now why it doesn't have this property? Because if you just perform this right hand side operation, it is going to be a square. It is going to be a square minus b times of a plus plus of a times of b minus of b square, right? So only a square minus b square can be written in this particular way only if this minus of ab plus of and minus of ba and plus of ab is are cancelling out, right? So it is only possible when the this particular AB vector or AB matrix is basically equal to BA matrix, right? So if you just perform the product of the matrix when they are basically compatible like this, that is AB is equal to BA, then only this particular right hand side will get satisfied with the left hand side, right? So we can see the option number B is going to be the correct answer, right? That is for the case when it is always satisfied, right? So what you can see over here, that if I just talk about that is always satisfied, so you can just see that if a vector and b vector are null vector, then you can see this particular value should be equal to 0. And if a vector and b vector are equal to identity vector, then also this particular result is going to be 0, right? So but we have to mainly satisfy this particular criteria, so this is satisfied only when ab is equal to ba, right? I hope this is clear, right? 17 is very simple, right? The next problem talks about the order and the degree of a differential equation. So if you just check over here, P is the order and Q is the degree of this differential equation. So what you can see over here, the differential equation is basically that dy dx of dy by dx whole cube, right? So if we just try to perform this, it is equal to 0, right? So we just try to perform this operation. So I will get it 3 times of dy dx of, I'm just performing this operation, okay? So the differentiation of this particular term is basically going to be 3 times of dy by dx whole square multiplied with the second derivative of y with respect to x. So from here you can see that the differential equation is equal to 0, right? So simply the differential equation has the order as 2. So order is equal to p, which is equal to 2, which is equal to 2. So order is going to be equal to 2, and the degree, the highest order having the degree 1, so our q is going to be equal to 1. So 2p minus q is going to be equal to 1. So from here you can see option number B is going to be the correct answer for this particular problem. I hope this is clear to all of you, right? So very simple problem, just using the simple concepts of order and degrees over here, right? With this, I am done with the all the MCQ type problem, right? Now let's move to the assertion reason based problem, right? So next we have the assertion reason based problem. So it is said that A matrix is given as diagonal of this, right? So I can also write this A matrix as 3 0 0 0 5 0 0 0 2, right? So it is said that it is a scalar matrix of order 3 cross 3. Now if you just recall what is a scalar matrix, right? So if a diagonal matrix has non-zero elements equal, if the diagonal matrix has all the non-zero elements equal, then it is known as scalar matrix. Exactly correct. That is, when I am able to write this diagonal matrix as some constant times of some identity matrix, right? That is called as scalar matrix, right? So if I'm able to express this particular matrix as some constant times of identity matrix, then it is going to be a scalar matrix, right? But in this case, we are unfortunately not able to do it, right? So I will say the assertion is false, but the reason is true. So I can see option number D is going to be the correct, right? Assertion is false, reason is true. Okay, when it is said that all the non-zero elements are equal, then it is known as scalar matrix. Exactly correct, right? Next, we have a questions of assessment decision from the topic of linear programming, right? So it is said that every point of the feasible region of the linear programming problem is an optimal solution. Is it correct? So every point, so what do you mean by physical region is that, for example, if I have two like this kind of region, so every point on this feasible region, so it is the entire region, right? Feasible region. So is every point on the feasible region a optimum solution? Because the optimal solution for a linear programming problem exists only at one or more corner points of the feasible region, right? So I cannot say that every point of the feasible region of a linear programming problem is an optimal solution. Again, the optimal solution only occurs at one or more corner points of the feasible region, right? So it always occurs on the corner point, right? So again, you can see option number D is going to be the correct. Assertion is false over here. Okay. So I cannot say that every point is a optimal point. I can say only few corner points are going to be the so I few points is going to be an optimal point, right? Let's now move to the section B, which is basically the 2 marks problem, right? So again, if you just look at the problem over here, very similar problems are basically asked over here. It is said that a vector A makes equal angle with all the 3 axes. Whenever any vector makes an equal angle with all the 3 axes, that is basically I can write cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma is equal to 1, right? Now, if I have alpha equal to beta equal to gamma, then this particular relation will simply satisfy as cos square alpha is equal to 1 upon 3. So, from here, I'll get cos alpha as 1 upon root 3 plus minus of that, right? So, all cos alpha, cos beta and cos gamma is going to be plus or minus 1 upon square root 3. And it is said that the vector is having a magnitude 5 root 3 units. So, I have to find out that particular vector, right? Very simple, straightforward problem. So I know that any vector can be written as some constant times the magnitude times the magnitude of the particular vector times the cos alpha I cap plus cos beta j cap plus cos gamma k cap, right? So from that particular relation, I can simply write this our a vector as 5 times of I cap plus j cap plus k cap, and I will just put the plus minus sign outside over here. So I can just write any vector A as plus minus 5 times of I cap plus j cap plus k cap. As simple as that, right? So this is very simple to all of you. Also, we had an option over here. So the second question with an option is basically said that if we are having alpha and beta are the position vectors, of point P and Q respectively, then you tell find the position vector of point R in QP produced such that. So let us see the second part of the 21st problem. Okay, so let me clear the solution over here. So you just see the position vector of 2 points. So let us say we have 2 points P and Q, right? And it is said that when the position vector of point R in QP, inside QP, such that your QR is basically 3 by 2 times of QP, right? So if I just say look over here, I have to find out QR is basically equal to 3 by 2 times of QP, right? So if I consider this as 1, so this is part is going to be 3 by 2, right? So this part is going to be half times of that, right? So I can just simply see that this particular thing is dividing the ratio 1:2, right? So our point is dividing this P and Q in the ratio 1:2. Now if you just go to the sample paper, I have discussed about the problem where I am basically told you that this section formulas of vectors is also important. So if you find the position vector of point R, so let us call this small r as a position vector. So it is going to be simply equal to 1 times the position vector of point Q, which is basically going to be beta, plus 2 times the position vector of point P, that is going to be alpha, divided by 3, right? So from here you will get the value as 2 times of alpha vector. So your position vector of R is going to be 2 times of alpha vector plus beta vector divided by 3, right? So very similar problem just by using section formula, right? So this is basically by using section formula, right? So if you just look into the initial lectures that I have taken already in live sessions, I have already discussed about these formulas in really great detail, okay? Even if you go to the sessions of vectors, I have discussed about this in detail, okay? Let's move to the next problem. Again, we have a problem of definite integral. Very simple, just use the trigonometric identities, okay? So I can just write this one over here as sine square x plus cos square x, right? So if you just do that, you'll get, and you can write this sine 2x as 2 times of sin x cos x, right? So if you do that, you're going to get this particular expression 1 plus sine 2x as simply as sin x plus cos x whole square of it, right? So taking the square root of that is going to generate you the value as mod of sin x plus cos x. But since the x is going from 0 to pi by 2, in which both of them are positive, so I will just omit the mod over here, okay? So from this you will get integration 0 to pi by 4 this part, right? So now you just can integrate it and simply you will get the answer, right? So sin x integration is minus of cos x, and 0 to pi by 2, it is going to be 1 minus 1 by root 2, right? So this is going to be 1 minus 1 by root 2, and cos x integration is going to be with a minus sign, right? And the sorry, extremely sorry, minus I've already incorporated, and this cos x integration is going to be sin x, that is going to be 1 upon root 2, right? So from here you can see that minus 1 upon root 2 and plus minus of 2 to 2 will get cancelled out. Ultimately this answer is going to be equal to 1, right? Very simple, straightforward problem, right? Next, let's move to the next problem. And again, it's a question while we're discussing about the increasing function on this real part, right? So for increasing function, the first derivative should be greater than 0. So from here you can check that is going to be equal to cos x minus of a should be greater than 0, right? So from here you can see that cos x should be equal to a, right? Now you have to find out that particular value of a for which this is satisfied for all x, right? So if it is satisfied for all x, then our a should be between, should be, because cos basically lies in between minus 1 to 1, right? So our a should definitely lie in between minus 1 to 1, or should be greater than that particular value of the interval of minus 1 to 1 in order to that particular a to be, and in order to this particular inequality to satisfy, right? So if you just check and write that, and for all x belongs to R, right? So our minimum value of cos x, so cos x minimum value for all R is basically equal to minus of 1. So if our a is less than minus 1, then this particular inequality is satisfied for all x, right? Because I have to satisfy this particular relation for all x. So if I just apply that concept, so if I just apply this concept over here, that cos x minimum value is 1, so it is satisfied for, so from here I will get the, find the values of a, right? So I will see that the a will basically lie between minus infinity to minus of 1, not included, right? So it should be less than minus of 1, right? So our, if our a is basically between this particular interval, then this particular function is satisfied the increasing relation, right? So you can just see this straightforward simple problem. Just we have to apply our basic IQ and questions of basic knowledge of the trigonometry, right? Let's move to the next problem. So next problem we have to discuss about the collinearity concept, right? We will discuss the questions of collinearity condition, right? So if you just look over here, this problem. So the problem basically talks about that we have two vectors, a vector and b vector are two non-collinear vectors. Okay, they are non-collinear vectors. Okay, so I have to find out the x such that our alpha vector is equal to x minus 2 a vector plus b vector, right? So our alpha vector is basically given as x minus 2 a vector plus b vector, and our beta vector is given as 3 plus 2x times of a vector plus minus 2b vector, right? Minus of 2b vector. Right. So to discuss about the collinearity condition in this particular vector, right? So if you just recall, what is the collinearity condition? That is, I am able to write one vector as some constant times of another vector, right? Or whenever they lie along the same direction, with the collinearity condition is satisfied, right? With the initial kind satisfying the same thing, right? So, or just simply writing like this, one vector is overlapping another vector, right? It's a simple criteria for collinear vectors, right? So if you just apply over here, so if you just check the same thing, so if I just try to find that relation in between A and B, and I have given the relation that A and B are two non-collinear vectors, right? So if I just check the condition in this particular way, like alpha is some lambda times of beta, that I can write this as x minus 2 divided by 3 plus 2x is equal to some constant, and that particular constant should also be equal to, should be equal to it should be equal to 1 upon minus of 2, right? So from here you will see that our x minus 2 divided by 2x plus 3 is equal to minus of 1 upon 2. So from here we'll get minus of 2x plus of 4 is equals to 2x plus 3, right? So from here you can see that you will get the relation as 4x is equals to 1, right? So our x is basically equal to 1 upon 4, and our y is basically equal to, so let me solve it over here. So our x from here is basically equal to 1 upon 4, and I will get the y is basically equal to, so we have no y, sorry. So I have to only find the value of x, right? So you can simply see that the value of x is going to be equal to 1 upon 4, as simple as that, right? So let's now move to the next problem. The next problem talks about we have to prove one particular result, right? Now I have already discussed that how to prove the questions, right? So if we have to prove for this given relation, So you have to just prove for this particular given relation. Let me create the solution part over here. So I just need to prove this particular relation. Okay. So it is said that our x is basically given as e to the power x by y, right? So if I just take the log on both the sides, if I just take log, natural log on both the sides, I will get this as log of x is equal to x by y, right? What I can do next is that I can write y as x upon log, natural log of x, right? So if I just try to differentiate this dy by dx, so if I just try to differentiate dy by dx, I can simply write this part as natural log x whole square into, so over here this is going to be equal to log x minus, and this is going to be equal to, x into 1 upon x, right? Which I can write as 1, right? So log x minus of 1 divided by log x whole square, right? But I have to express in this time, right? So just look over here, I can write the same thing as, so just this one right over here. So what I can do, I can simply express this part also as, so I can just simply express this part as, so this part is basically given as log x, sorry. So if I just divide by log x on the numerator, I'm going to get it as 1 upon log x minus 1 upon log x whole square, right? That is what I'm having, right? So I can further simplify this particular relation, saying that what I can do over here is that I can write log x minus 1, right? And what I can write log x as, I can write log x as x by y, right? So x by y minus of 1 divided by log x whole square, right? That is what I have over here. Now again, we can simplify this particular expression as x minus y divided by log x whole square divided by y over here. Now I know that I can represent y as x by log x, right? So if I just simply change this y over here, I can simply write this expression as x minus y divided by x into log x, right? So this log square x, log of x whole square will get cancelled out with one particular log x over here, right? So just put this y over here and you will get this result, right? So that's how you're going to prove this dy by dx part, okay? It's just simply manipulation that you're going to do over here in order to prove this particular result. So very simple problem, just straightforward given questions, okay? So I hope this particular part is clear to all of you. Okay, I hope this part is very straightforward, right? So just you have to do some manipulation in order to clear the or get to this particular relation, okay? So let's now move to the next problem. I hope this is clear. Okay, so let's erase this part of the solution over here. I hope this particular part of the solution is clear to all of you. Okay, very straightforward. Okay. The next part of the question, it says that you have to discuss, given a function, it is basically internal choice is given. Okay, given a function, you have to discuss about the differentiability condition. Now again, I'm telling, whenever you have to check out the differentiability condition, first of all check for the continuity condition. So at x equal to 2, at the right hand side and the left hand side at x equal to minus 2 is same or not. Let's see. So f of 2 minus should be equal to f of 2 plus, right? And should be equal to f of 2 for continuity condition, right? So f of 2 minus and f of 2 is equal to 2 minus, sorry, minus of 2 minus and minus of 2 plus, right? And f of 2 minus 2, right? Because I have to check at x equal to minus 2. So if I just check the value at minus of 2 minus, that is going to be from this particular relation, it is going to be minus of 7, right? And should be equal to, so should be equal to this particular value at minus 2, which is basically equal to, so minus of 2 plus is basically given by this particular relation, that is the right hand side of the limit at x equal to minus 2, which is basically given as minus of 1, right? So what we can see that the left hand side of the limit is not equal to the right hand side of the limit, right? So if you can check simply that if you put minus of 2 over here, it is going to be minus of 7, right? So the left hand limit is given as minus 7 and the right hand limit is given as minus of 2. So you can just see that your left hand limit is not equal to right hand limit. So therefore, it is not continuous. It is not continuous, right? So if a function is not continuous, then there is no questions of differentiability, right? So if it is not continuous, then it is not even differentiable. So this particular function is not differentiable, right? It is not differentiable. So I hope this particular part is clear to all of you, right? So this was all about the 1 marker problems and the 2 marker problems. Okay. So this is all for today's particular session, because this lecture is going to be, otherwise it's going to be very big lecture, right? Because you can see that the entire paper was of 3-hour paper, right? So I cannot extend this time over here, because let us take the other parts of the section number C, D and E in the remaining sessions. Okay, I will take one more session discussing about the CBSE paper solution. Okay, so I hope till now whatever I have discussed the section A, section B. I hope this part of the paper was clear to all of you, right? So this part of the paper was clear to all of you, right? So you can see with this part that all the part that I have discussed over here directly came straight forward for the problem, right? So if you haven't still watched that particular sessions, you can just see and check that whatever I've discussed, that simply came up for the exam. So someone who have did that analysis and did that, watch that videos and come up, they definitely might be scoring full marks in the paper. Okay. So I wish you all the best for your upcoming exams, right? And with this, I am going to reveal the surprise that I have for you. So the surprise is basically we are coming with JEE mains series. Okay, so we are basically coming with a second attempt. Okay, so as you can know, the second attempt is basically in April, so we still have 1 more month to discuss. So I am coming up with the JEE mains revision boosters. Okay, so we're gonna be again discussing about the JEE mains previous year problems with every day. I will be coming live in the evening where I will discuss about one particular chapter, and I will take one chapter and I will start do every sort of analysis on that particular chapter. So as you can see, while I did the same analysis for CBSE board examination, I'm going to do the same treatment for JEE mains, where we are going to discuss the JEE previous year problems. Okay, I'm going to discuss the JEE previous year problems plus concepts. Okay, so for that you have to stay tuned for this particular sessions. Okay, so we are going to come live again in the upcoming sessions where we are going to discuss about the JEE previous year problems as well as concepts in every videos, right? So every day we will take up one particular chapter or one particular topic, and I'm going to discuss everything behind that particular topic, and I'm going to do the entire analysis and strategy video also with that particular thing. So if you haven't subscribed to the particular channel, so please do generally subscribe to the particular channel and click on the bell icon to not miss out any particular content. So with this, I wish you all the best. So please, I'm hoping to see you in the upcoming session of JEE Mains, these discussions. Okay, so we are going to have a revision sessions, we're going to have previous year problems, we are going to solve mock test live in this particular channel. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button. With this, I take a leave from this particular session, and thank you.